Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. I'm in Max. Pursuing the RPG hobby with reckless abandon.
And we're on.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
We did it.
We're just
I'll unmute myself. How about that?
yeah. Make sure your mute switches.
We did it. I'm unmuted. And
I am
I'm
on.
here.
Excellent.
Should it be an on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it should be
Okay.
on.
Turn yourself on.
I am on. I'm turned on.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you
Hi.
for joining us for season 21, episode 14 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
I am Adam.
I'm Jason.
I'm Stork.
And
It's
for
a
those,
sausage fest in here today.
it is. And for those of you who are local, the 50th Renaissance Pleasure Fair starts tomorrow at Irwindale Dam. Go to renfairnoe.com/SoCal, and you can find out all the information about the fair. And come and see us. We're at Rogues Reef at noon, 2, 4, and 5:45.
I'm not privy to that information.
Bam!
Yeah.
It's on the Slack, baby.
There it
If
is.
there's no E, how do you know it's old with an E, tiny with an E?
Well, I think Ren Fair with an E was already taken by someone
okay.
else. Because they used to have a terrible URL, and then they went around and tried to find one. I'm guessing they bought it from someone.
Yeah.
So there's a
Probably
lot of
where they're
Renaissance
broke.
fairs.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. I'll send it to you for $1 million.
Right.
All right.
Everyone knows Ren Fair's a cash cow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to make bank,
Yeah.
start a Ren Fair or a podcast.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, right?
Get rich quick schemes.
In this episode, we will discuss taking things seriously.
That's really on this podcast?
Yes.
We're going to
Really?
discuss it. We're not going to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to win.
James writes in about first session shenanigans. Brandon from Delaware writes in about dynamic versus static damage. And Stephen from Atlanta writes in about our first AP, Ghostbusters LA.
I still want to do something called Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, thank you. I was looking at that like, how are we not calling it shenanigans?
Did you hear that too? I was
Yeah.
like,
That's a con title
yeah,
right
right?
there.
Yeah.
Shenanigans.
Powered by the Shenana Lips.
Nope, that's probably worse.
Yeah. I think I dated her once.
All right. If you'd like to email us, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. We're on social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook.
Yep.
And I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Happy Jacks RPG, all one word. And if you'd like to watch the show live, you can watch the show live at happyjacks.org/live. And we're recording at 7 p.m. Pacific time on Friday nights. And
And the YouTubes.
and we're on the YouTubes. And if you we're going to do a crossover episode.
Dun, dun,
We just got this finalized, like the third week in April. I'll put it up. We're going to do a host swap with Fear the Boot again. So we're going to do their show, and then they're going to...
I have to go mow their lawn again.
Yep, I already watched the tickets. All right.
Save that magic bar.
Huh?
Save that magic bar.
Yes. So this topic kind of came up. There was a post under the L5R game because we just wrapped sort of the first arc of the L5R game in the fifth session, and it was titled "Unsolicited Advice," and it was from Stephen, who is on our forums, and he had suggested. Because, as happens, and apparently this is an American thing. This is not the same in other countries. But there's the sort of pervasive, creeping evil in the L5R world in Rokugan is unfortunately named the Taint. See? Look at the faces.
See?
And it's an American thing. Apparently,
Every
this
time.
term that is not a synonym for gooch in other English-speaking areas.
Really? You too, Adam? Really? You too? Of all the people, I figured you'd be serious about this.
I'm very serious about this.
Yeah.
I am
One should take one's taint seriously.
I am shocked, I tell you, shocked that we would giggle at this very serious matter.
Right. So, it's obviously it's a cultural thing, and here it has pretty pervasively, I think, been adopted to
Yeah.
have this other unfortunate meaning, which isn't this creeping,
Yes.
pervasive evil that threatens all the world. And
Yeah, but I feel like in other cultures and other languages, they also have 12-year-old boys who are now 40 years old and never grew up, and also laugh at other things, just not this particular one.
Right.
Yeah,
But
that word doesn't ping the joke meter
Right,
for
yeah.
them, but other
Yeah.
words must.
Right,
You know?
yeah.
Probably.
They hear the name Fanny Bryce in England, I'm
Yeah.
sure they're going to have a little laugh. So,
Yeah.
But no, I get this, and I like face it all the time. Like every time you guys would say it on the L5R game, I'm always giggling. And Jason and I had sushi for lunch today, and the total was like 23 something 69
Yeah.
each.
And
Yeah.
And we
that did not go unnoticed.
no, did not.
Never does.
No.
We just had a truck. We just had a fire truck at our shop. Truck number 69.
Yeah.
That's
And
hilarious.
everybody goes,
This last week.
Right? Yeah.
like
Right.
grown
Yeah.
people, grown-ass humans are like,
Yeah,
Like,
and I mean,
why?
watch when that hose starts spraying.
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Why? Why do we care?
Well,
but
I mean, it is region specific. I mean, there's not a lot of people named Randy walking around in Ireland.
Uh-huh.
I guarantee you that Randy is not a popular name in Ireland
Yeah.
at all. And it's fine here. There's a lot of Randys and Randolphs and such.
Right.
But it's okay, and it's also not that we don't know the double meaning of taint, and we're not understanding the importance of said evilness. It's just the word sets us off.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
really simply a matter that the word
And
is
it's
a
'cause
double
we're
meaning.
12.
And because
Right,
we're
yeah,
12.
yeah.
But,
That's actually not what I want to talk about.
oh.
The word itself is not what I want to talk about because
Well, good.
He brought up. I'm trying to bring the forum up right now.
There's no solution to that one.
No, there really isn't. Well, you just rename it.
Right.
Name
Or,
it something
or
else.
ju- yeah, we've been using the Shadowland
Yeah.
creep. And,
yeah, if that was
Kimmy, when she's being serious in character, she has another term that she uses for it.
Right.
I don't remember what it is specifically, but there's something else that she's been using because she's a crab character, and she's not going to laugh at that thing.
No, absolutely.
although she
not.
was. She was like the worst offender the other day. But
Well,
I don't know if
Kimmy
she was
laughed
the
at it,
Yes,
but
she did.
Makiko, I think was her character's
Yes.
name, did not.
No, she wouldn't.
Yeah, decidedly did not laugh at pretty much anything. But I think the thing is like a lot of this also I think has to do with the American Puritanism. There's a very deep discomfort about sex and sexuality and bodies that we have in America that tends to make us a little more likely to laugh at things like that because we're not capable of taking them seriously because that would be difficult for us. I don't know if I'm...
I hear what you're saying. I don't know if it's necessarily applicable to this. I was actually going to say that many times in a game when things start getting intense, it's my defense mechanism in real life is to poke light of it.
Sure.
and
Whistling
it's-
past the graveyard. Kind of.
Right.
Right.
And certainly coroners and policemen and ambulance drivers have what they call gallows humor because otherwise it's the
just-
Hawkeye
it's just
syndrome
too
for MASH.
dark
It's
otherwise,
too
yeah.
dark. You have to poke fun at stuff. So sometimes in a game when things get intense, little jokes get cracked. It's partially my personality, and I think a lot of gamers are maybe that way. We're kind of just wiseacres, and we're here to have fun. So when things get real, Tate.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think to that end, you know, on the topic of like trying to take things seriously, there are kind of two poles to that. Like
poles.
early on in good one.
Yeah, the people who get
Don't-
mad at us about
don't take
laughing
the
at
easy
Taint
ones.
are
Yeah.
going to hate this
Yeah.
Oh,
section
God,
of
yeah.
the show.
Pretty much.
But
Sorry.
I have a very clear and distinct memory of one of my RPG horror stories in college, trying to run Shadowrun, which is already like pushing a dump truck uphill by yourself, right?
yeah.
Just running that game is a nightmare, and it was like first edition.
Lot of dice rolls.
1995, maybe it was second edition by then, but like trying to run Shadowrun for my fellow freshmen in college, and they had these professional, you know, assassins and thieves and crooks and hackers and like professional criminals, right? And I'm like, okay, guys, you know, I didn't want to put them on the rails. I was an experienced DM at that point. I'm like, cool. So what do you guys want to do? Do you want to go talk to your contacts? Do you want to go follow up this thing? They're like, we're going to Dunkin' Donuts. I was like, fuck me. Okay, you get to Dunkin' Donuts. What do? We buy donuts and coffee. Like, God damn it. I put so much prep. And they were fucking elated. Every single one of them thought this was the funniest shit they could have done in any universe. That this was the best thing they could have done.
It's a good thing you're still not mad about it.
Well, it is pretty funny because, like, the first Avengers film at the very end,
Yes.
Yeah.
they're there at the falafel place, and they're all sitting around eating
that
falafel.
was a,
and it's freaking
that was a
hysterical.
2-minute stinger.
Yes.
Right, yeah, right.
You know, the problem with that is that if you eat too much, you just falafel.
Oh boy.
It's gonna be, look, the challenge was set. We're going to have to correct jokes all the way through
But,
this.
All
but
the way
to
through.
me, the whole thing about trying to take things seriously, like, yeah, I mean, you want to set the tone and try to have that, and at least have moments that are serious. And and also every game, you're going to have that person who's like, I say spoiler not as like an insult, but you're going to have the person who's like, ooh, I'm uncomfortable and I need to like. I need to change the mood a little bit, or I need to change this a little bit to feel more comfortable. But I also think, like, you have a table of grown adults sitting around playing pretend together.
Right.
Sure.
Right. And like that in itself is a little bit silly. Don't get me wrong. This is my favorite hobby in the whole world, is playing pretend with my fellow pretending adults.
Yeah.
This
is the closest I can get to sitting in my room alone, playing with my G.I. Joes and making up superhero code names for them, and and creating a superhero story with my G.I. Joes, because that was fun.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the closest I ever get to how amazing that felt to come up with those stories and be able to do it with my friends.
Yeah, the G.I. Joes are actually talking back to you and joking about their taints.
They are, yeah. Well, they all had little rubbers inside.
Yep.
Rubber bands.
They did?
Yeah. No, I think, so,
I never looked that far.
Yeah, if you pull them apart.
pull them apart.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm,
If you have dogs, you'll find that out.
right,
I
yeah.
had daughters
yeah.
and the Barbies at the same time.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna go highbrow here and bring up a musical theater reference, but this isn't just RPGs. Like Hamilton, if you're watching, listening to Hamilton, the most devastatingly emotional song, which is "Burn," is this incredibly deep and intense experience that leaves pretty much the entire audience just bawling their eyes out, and then like before the notes have even settled on from the last chord, Jefferson comes out and says, "Can we get back to politics?" And everybody busts up laughing because we're all miserable, we're all scared, we're all tired, and I think this is a natural human response to. We have a deep emotion. We have and we're not comfortable with emotions. We don't understand emotions. They're the least amount of control we have in our lives.
Yep.
And then to when we experience those very heavily, I think it's a very natural reaction to just say, "Okay, deep breath. Let's step back and just have a good laugh real quick."
Yeah, I mean, in that context, you can wind it back 400 years, and Shakespeare breaking up Hamlet. Just very distressing, heavy, almost scary story.
Right, yeah.
With Rosencrantz and Guildenstern making dick jokes.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Or who's going to be married here? Is it a woman? It's used to be a woman. Now she's dead.
Right.
In one of the most devastatingly emotional stories that we have in literature,
Yeah.
and I think that's okay. And I understand the need as a GM to want to make your players feel these things very intensely. But I don't think that a little bit of humor to break the mood necessarily takes away from the depth of those feelings that your players are having.
I think if it's the kind of humorous injection you're talking about, injections. Yeah. I think that's actually kind of a sign of the GM successfully eliciting that emotional response from the
Somebody
character.
has made someone so uncomfortable that they have to react. Of like, oh, I need my ejector seat. Like, I need to make a joke and get out of here.
I think in a lot of ways it's a good sign that you are connecting with your players and that they are feeling emotions very intensely.
And I also think that not everybody is an intense role player.
Right.
Some people are just sort of, I don't know, say casual. They just, they'll role play up to a point.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of gets awkward and weird. It's
Yeah.
like Mac and I had a scene where we were yelling at each other. And I got a lot of emails saying I was really uncomfortable to listen to.
Yeah.
And I know it was in character, but it was really uncomfortable to some people.
Sure.
And I get that too. So you've also got people that just need the relief valve if things get a little too heavy, a little too real. But is that exactly what you wanted to talk about? It seems like
kind
another
of.
agenda.
That I wanted to talk about it more generally rather than about how funny the word taint is to Americans.
It is funny. It's like objectively funny though
Right.
To us.
To us.
Yes. Yeah.
to Americans.
Yes.
Not,
Yeah.
Apparently not to the British, or the English, or the Australians, or hardcore fans of L5R.
Okay.
Maybe there should be an American translation of it where they call it something else.
The creeping evil.
Maybe,
The creeping evil.
The
Or just
creeping
the
evil.
shadow, the shadow touch, or touch of the
yeah.
shadow, or touch of evil, or the
Right,
evil.
yeah.
There's lots of words you can use instead of.
That isn't like a specific body part in
switch.
English slang.
Is L5R a not an American creation?
Aldrich Entertainment Group was the people who originally came out with it, and they might be English.
That sounds German.
I did
thought it
not
was-
know
I
this.
thought it was John Wick.
But I think he wrote it. I'm
Way back in the
assuming.
day.
I'm assuming.
Oh, I always forget there's a developer named John Wick.
Yes.
Right?
Also funny.
Yeah.
Right?
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it says Alderac is based in Ontario, California.
Oh.
Oh well.
They knew what they were doing.
knew what-
Well,
yeah.
if they were the original publishers, they may not have been
Sure.
the original publishers.
Yeah.
They were publishers of Fourth, and so.
Yeah.
But
Or it could be that they wrote it and went, you know what? Players will be mature enough to not to not giggle they'll giggle at first and then they'll get over it and they'll play
Yeah.
the game. Like, no, you're wrong. You don't understand human beings.
Right.
And to be fair, this game's been around a long time, and I got to say, Taint probably hasn't been like within the last, I'm going to say, 10 years, has
Yeah.
really entered the consciousness.
well, I think
Yeah.
it's probably been within the last 20 years where I heard it taints your balls and it taints your asshole.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is how the term
Probably.
apparently is derived.
Yeah.
So
I hadn't heard it described that way.
that's how that was explained to me as the etymology of the term.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I forgot about Gooch, so yeah. Good luck with Gucci shoes from now on.
I know, right? Yeah. I'm wearing Gucci.
95 is when it came out, so that's probably around the time maybe when.
But I'm done justifying the word anymore.
I know.
We're really
Yeah.
we're laughing at the word and not at the actual. And I think that that's also relevant because there are times when a designer means one thing, and then they maybe have like the word taint or whatever, and it kind of derails the intensity. And
Right.
and I don't think that was their designer's intent.
Oh, no.
And
No.
people get a little upset because of it's like you guys aren't following the feeling of it. Well, we are. It's
Right.
Yeah.
I
Well,
can't think of
it's
another
like-
example in the game, but I'm sure there's got to be one or two more.
It's like in Urban Shadows, there's this corruption track, which is great, but then one of the playbooks is the tainted. You know, it's like
yeah.
the good
Every
thing about
time.
that is
Is that like being sacked?
yeah, exactly. It's not sacked, and it's not
Taint sacked.
yeah, taint sacked. And, well, anyway, the point is like the name of that playbook doesn't have to be said every 20 minutes.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like you
True.
could play that and be like, okay, I'm playing this character. They're affected by this demon and blah blah blah. And okay, that's now you just refer to your character by name,
Right.
right?
Right.
But the corruption thing is great. Like that's like L5R should just call it corruption or whatever. You know, like
Right.
it's this evil sort of nebulous thing that everyone has to deal with, and they deal with it in different ways, and it provides effects, and you know,
It's evil poisoning. It's
Yeah.
like,
And
one
it's
of
like
the-
palladium poisoning.
One of the things that that Stephen brought up in his post is things that we could do to kind of make it less funny. But I don't know if that's would work if we keep using the word.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of the things were first off I never really got to the part where they talk about it in the FFG version, but you don't want to get the Shadowland taint in 4th edition. First off, your character's not aware they have it.
Right.
You make like an earth roll or something to resist it when you're attacked by something like a zombie or anything from Jigoku or from that's influenced by Fu Ling, who is the big evil guy, right? And you make an earth roll to resist it, and if you fail that roll, there's basically almost like a damage track for how much taint your character is suffering from, and you start out at a very low level, and it's undetectable by pretty much anyone.
It's like rabies.
That's in fact in the post log of the original L5R game, Tyler's character, who got it. You guys were fighting zombies
Battling
in the
a zombie.
forest, I think.
Yeah, a couple of
and
zombies
he got
on the
hit
farm.
once,
Yeah.
and he failed his earth roll.
Yep.
So his during the course of the adventure didn't last long enough for it to really take hold and take over. But it turns your character. It eventually turns your character into a being of pure evil, and you basically hand your sheet over to the GM, and it's no longer a playable character. It's literally a monster.
Yeah.
There are ways to cure it, but that's almost a quest in and of itself.
But you have to know you have it.
Yes.
And at lower levels, you don't know you have it. It isn't until you get to a certain point, because it's one of those things that L5R does where there can be like 10 levels of taint, but within each one there's like 10 sub-levels.
Oh, yeah.
So you start out at 1.
Interesting.
And then you have to go through, and then after you get 10 more points of it, and there's rolls you make every few months, and it can grow, and then
There's mechanical effects on your character.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But
It's pretty nasty.
his whole epilogue was about the fact that his character eventually succumbed to it, and had to be isolated and have Shugenja around him to make sure that it wasn't spreading. And then immediately his remains were cremated, and the area around it had to be cleansed, and all this stuff. But that was kind of his character had a real dark ending because of the fact that he got it from a scratch from a zombie.
Yep.
10 years earlier or something like that. So in the game itself, it is a scary thing in a long-term sense.
Yeah.
And you don't want it.
Yeah.
Because bad things are going to happen to your character through the course as it progresses and goes through, the disease part of it.
Evil syphilis.
The other thing that he had a couple other suggestions. One, he said, and this is obvious, this is good advice for tons of stuff, is show, don't tell. And then he said, you need never utter the word taint. Let the dark manifestation show. Of course,
True.
if you first have it, you aren't going to show any dark manifestations. But you might, like maybe I start having disturbing nightmares and things like that.
Yeah.
And you start wondering, maybe I haven't. The player knows it, but the character doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last thing was give the characters someone they have a pre-existing relationship, have them come down with it. And show them, let them see what it does and how devastating it can be to them. Because I think there's two parts here. Part of it is there are 12 and Taint's funny.
Right.
Part of it is the sort of gallows humor, whistling past the graveyard thing, and that to me is not a problem at all.
Right.
That doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, people have different comfort levels with sort of dark storytelling, and that was where, like, early on I realized, like, probably White Wolf's Vampire isn't really for me. Like, I get the kind of story that vampire players are going for, and I don't think I'm a good fit for that. And I like Shadowrun. I like a dark, gritty story, but Vampire was like one step beyond what I felt comfortable with. And I was like, well, okay, I'm not going to play that.
Right.
But-
yeah, because you're a predator who goes out and
Yeah.
finds people, and you feed on them, and you kill them, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, did you watch any of the Dark Ages game at all? I played a gangrel who's you have nature and demeanor
Yeah.
in White Wolf games. My nature was nurturer, and my demeanor was curmudgeon because he was Scottish.
Yeah.
So, but my character would not feed on women and would not feed on children. He took one life, actual mortal life, in the entire game, and that was in the very last session. and for all five sessions, I was always low on blood, because I have to go through all this rigmarole, because I'm not going to kill someone.
Yeah.
So I have to go through all this rigmarole. I only feed on men. And what I was doing is I'd go and I'd talk to the guards, and we'd sit and get drunk together, and then I'd feed on them, and then they'd wake up with a hangover and not know what happened.
Right.
But in the very final session, it's like, okay, we're about to have a coup. A lot of people are going to die if we don't do this right. So yeah, I need to feed. I need to top off. I'm gonna have to kill someone to do it. That's
Yeah.
the only character I killed in the entire game, and we never even, because immediately after that we went right into the fight. But my character never really went through. I made a humanity roll. I think I made it, but I could have lost humanity on that because my humanity is reasonably high in the game, or my path or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And I had the path of humanity.
Yeah,
Path of breath. So I want to be around mortals. I like mortals.
Yeah.
I consider if I'm not around them on a daily basis, that's one of the sins of my path. So I mean, you can play that oddball character, but that's like 1 in 1,000 characters.
Well, let me ask you a question about L5R because I've never played it before. Is there anything in the game that would come unhinged if everyone just scratched out wherever it said the T word and wrote in corruption?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
You can absolutely do that.
Just the word.
But I also understand there's probably a lot of diehard L5R fans who are like, no, it's called Taint, and that's what we're going to call it, and people should just take it seriously enough and be grown up enough to play pretend together, and take that seriously.
Well, they forget we're 12.
Yeah.
And that if we change it, that will help. If they can't
Yeah.
they can't be mad at us because we're going to change the name
Right.
to something else.
Would they
and
rather
then also
you
be mad at us that we giggle when
Yeah,
like if we
do
choose it.
they
Yeah.
want the integrity of using the word taint,
Right.
or do they want the listener experience of having the players not
giggle.
like giggle every
Sure.
20 minutes at something that is the most unfunny part of the game, if I'm reading this correctly?
Yes.
It is probably the scariest part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, calling it something like corruption seems like a good fix.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's...
It actually kind of is analogous to the humanity rating in Vampire. Because when you lose your humanity and it drops to 0, your character is a beast.
Yeah.
Yes,
And,
you're unplayable.
you again hand the character sheet
Yeah.
over.
Right.
It's a very similar situation. It might take a lot less time in Vampire. But
Oh, I'm good with this thing.
I think in the situation with Taint in L5R and in our game, part of it is the word, and a part of it I think is the gallows humor part of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because the player characters. We even had a situation where there was a woman who had her. What was the name of that movie? Not Seven Samurai. Was it 13 Assassins? I think it's 13 Assassins. It's a samurai film, and it's about they go out and there's a horribly corrupt lord, and they eventually go out to kill him. And I think almost everyone dies except like 1 or 2 of them. And there's a very early scene in it where there's a woman, a peasant, who has had her all of her limbs hacked off and her tongue cut out by this lord. Well, that scene is very powerful in the film. So I took that scene and I used basically all those elements and recreated it when they met the corrupted Crane champion.
Yeah.
And he had come into this area and he did this to her, and someone had rescued her and brought her to where the party was going to be, so they got to have this conversation, and she described who it was that did this to her. They brought witnesses in and made sure, so there were several people of authority who knew what was going on. It was a very dangerous thing because the head of the Crane clan, which they're part of, had done this, and they already suspect that he's corrupted.
I see. And they have to go against the head of the clan.
And they're going to have to go against the head. So they're getting as many powerful people in there who are discreet to see this, and then it was a pretty poignant scene until I brought up the neck stake, because 2 of them they asked, well, where do you want us to take you? Do you have someone that we can take you to care for you? And she said, please kill me.
Yeah.
And so Stork's character and one of the NPCs pull their swords out, and they both cut off her head. And I told them it left a little piece. Like
the next day.
Yeah.
Next
The next day, yeah.
which everyone thought was inappropriate. But it was like but I don't. That wasn't me being flip. It was It was an intense scene.
Yeah, it was a release valve.
Yeah, exactly.
And let me just comment on that as an audience member, because I watched all those L5R actual plays and was really enjoying them. And in every scene of every actual play that you guys have done so far, that experience, that scene with that woman, was by far the most memorable and the most poignant of any of them that you guys did. And then the next take line came up, and it kind of made people laugh and everything, but it did not take away from me the impact that had on the characters. Like it was clear you guys needed to laugh, and you needed some emotional release from this very intense situation that your characters had been in. But watching it, I didn't think, oh, well, they just didn't care, I guess. It was just like, oh, yeah, that was pretty rough.
Right.
I need to laugh, too.
Yeah.
So I
Kimmy
get
was
that as
mad.
an audience
Kimmy
member,
didn't
too.
like it.
Oh, yeah.
She was having her sort of a cathartic moment, I think.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I fucked it up.
But it was, the timing might have been better.
Sure.
Oh, tiny.
Where's the comic gold of talking about the next take 10 minutes later?
It's true. It's very true.
I mean,
You got to do what you got to do. But yeah, I get that, and I think a lot of it has to do with people needing a break. We need and to me, the most successful stories we have as gamers is when we reach that point where it's like, oh my God, we got to step back from this because that was a lot.
Oh, sure.
And I'm a longtime player of the White Wolf games, and lots of intense moments, and if you think Vampire is bad on the emotional intensity, you got to play Wraith, which is like,
We're all dead.
whoa, yeah, we're all dead.
Doesn't really matter.
Oh my God,
I can
so
imagine
depressing.
Promethean could be
Promethean could be
horribly
yeah.
tragic.
Actually, I found that with Changeling.
Yeah,
Yes,
I was going to say
yeah.
Changeling's pretty rough.
And
But-
especially New World of Darkness Changeling,
Yeah.
you realize the implication of what
Yeah.
your characters are supposed to have gone through.
Yeah.
It's terrifying and
Yeah.
disturbing, and
just their lack of morals, and then towards each other, even.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's a rough game.
And it's alien abduction and torture,
Uh-huh.
and it is a very difficult thing to do, and I've seen various groups handle it with different ways, but I think ultimately the stories that we tell, we like intense stories.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I love them. These, like Monster Hearts. These are I can't go a podcast episode without mentioning Monster Hearts.
Clearly.
And how it's practically perfect. But these kinds of games are ones that I'm usually drawn to, and I want those intense moments of feeling this very deep, disturbing emotional state that my character has been put in without their control. To me, that's an exciting moment as a storyteller and as an audience member, is to see is to experience those moments with a character. But at the same time, I'm just here to have fun with my friends. It's okay
Right.
if we stop and laugh.
It's okay sometimes to laugh. I think that's our safe word.
Yeah.
Like if you're in the bondage, you're in the moment, and if things get too intense, you have to have a safe word.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've been told.
I know nothing absolutely whatsoever about that.
So please don't get disheartened when you hear us cracking jokes about some of this stuff, because sometimes it's just,
Right.
Yeah, and I think also on some level the listener has to forgive us for not being, Hollywood dramatized performance.
Right.
That we're a bunch of nerds sitting around a table playing pretend together for hours and your entertainment. It's gonna be. We are going to err on the side of fun.
Right.
I've been on set with method actors,
Yes.
and to coin Jason's term, they're tedious.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's absolutely tedious. to
Method
just be
actors are
around
the
them.
fucking worst.
Yeah.
I want to be an alligator.
Oh, my God. I can't tell you...
Dinosaurs once roamed here.
One of the things that takes the longest to shoot on TV shows is sex scenes or even just make-out scenes. And it's not because they don't understand the intensity or that they can't kiss at the right angle. It's because they need these moments. There are these two people. Sometimes they have just met an hour or so before,
yeah.
and now they're naked or half naked, making out in a very intense way. And sometimes they need to stop and just laugh about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes
'Cause it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
In front of 30 people, too.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
with a camera this close to your face.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's hard not to
Right.
laugh.
Yeah,
And I
30,
have to-
30 like fully clothed,
Yeah.
uninterested in your sex scene people.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. No, most of them are still interested.
Okay, well.
Yeah. Try and get the extra grips to get off the stage. It's like
nobody knows where the stairs to the grid
Grips.
is until there's a
until
set
that,
scene.
yeah, right.
Suddenly
Yeah,
everybody seems
yeah.
to know where that
All of a sudden, transportation needs to come in and check out the set cars are working.
that's funny.
Yeah.
Every
You know-
wardrobe person is on there like,
Right,
well, I
yeah.
got to make sure the shoes are okay.
Oh yeah,
They're
yeah.
naked.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, but
I
the
had
shoes
to-
are on the floor.
Right.
They might get scuffed
Oh,
up.
I got to tell you, actually, as a wardrobe person, the hardest I ever work is when I have naked actors on set. I'm like 5 feet away from them with a robe and slippers and their hoodie and their pants and like all of this stuff. And the second they yell cut, I am rushing in there. I'm covering them in every way possible.
Is it cold on set?
Sometimes it is. Yeah.
Well, I imagine since you got use all LED lights now, so there's probably not generating.
always.
No, it's not all LED.
Oh, it isn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Because those things generate zero heat.
Yeah.
There's a lot of 5Ks.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Like one of the experiences I can bring up is so on Teen Wolf we had this situation where these two characters, they're in love with each other on the show, and they were going to have a makeout session and lose their virginity together, and except the complication is that in real life they're very close friends, and the female actor is roommates with the male actor's long-term girlfriend.
Oh boy.
So there's automatically this tension of, oh, we're going to make out, and I'm sure it's going to be
Oh,
fine
boy.
with my roommate and your
Yeah,
girlfriend. And, and it took us forever to shoot just them starting to kiss and a little bit of shirt unbuttoning because they kept cracking up. Because that's the only
they're
way they could
friends,
get through
and
it.
they're friends
Yes.
with each other, and it's like,
I don't know if this is accurate, but it seems to me, given that situation, I think it'd be much easier to do that scene with a complete stranger than
Yes.
Yeah.
somebody who's like my good friend.
there's a
I think so.
disconnect.
Yeah. I mean, neither of them ever had problems cracking up when they were making out with other characters that they didn't know well.
yeah.
We have when I'm recording people, some of the people I record get nervous when they get in there you're in a little tiny booth with a
Oh, yeah,
microphone
just-
all by yourself,
Being on the spot.
and they'll get the giggles, and it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
How funny.
stop.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I'll
just
Gotta wait.
Right, yeah.
I'll
You
wait.
can't stop it.
Yeah, it's a thing we do to release tension and to recognize and deal with an uncomfortable situation. And in my opinion, if you're creating those intense situations at your gaming table, either as a GM or a PC, I think that's great. I think you've accomplished something and you've made people really feel, or they wouldn't have to get giggly about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
One of the greatest scenes ever on television was in Mary Tyler Moore show when Chuckles the Clown dies. And there's a funeral for Chuckles the Clown. And Mary Tyler Moore can't stop laughing.
Right.
It's priceless. Go on your way home, or when you get home, go Google the funeral for Chuckles the Clown. And it's one of these exact moments where everybody's very serious and she's back there going,
yeah.
okay, we'll end it with that. Enough beating
The
that
fellow
horse.
of infinite jest. He hath borne me on his back 1,000 times.
All
Roll
right.
the flag and a relish on me yet, he did.
So, thank
yeah.
you, Stephen, for the unsolicited advice, and it's,
Yeah.
I hope brought up a thought-provoking conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's a great topic, and I think it's something that a lot of us take for granted. A lot of us assume, it doesn't really matter to people. And I think it's important to look at some of these things and think, this is why it is.
I'm glad we
a
only
big
spent
deal.
20 minutes on that. That was a
Hey,
good, tight.
Happy Jackson, we want to make sure we cover everything. Some people might call it beating a horse, but beating a dead horse. But we like to make sure we got all the angles
Hey,
covered.
it might come back to life if you
true.
keep hitting it. That's how CPR works.
Oh my god!
It's true.
I've just been watching the season 2 of Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events on
How is
on
that?
Netflix. Oh, it's amazing!
Oh, is it?
It's
Okay.
so good. It is so very good. And but they go to this academy, and their mascot is a dead horse. and they're having this pep rally, and the cheerleaders going, "What can't be beat?" And they all go, "A dead horse."
You have to pause because it's 20 minutes of laughter right there. You're dabbing your eyes. And then you're putting it back up. And you're laughing
That's
again.
terrific.
It is
is
so
fun.
good.
It is.
I started watching Black Sails, the Starz series.
Yeah,
I'm loving that series.
Yeah.
Just
very
loving
good.
it.
Very
Well,
good.
you're in a pirate phase right now.
No, I wasn't into a pirate phase when I started it.
What game are you playing right now?
What game am I playing?
Yeah, aren't you playing the Sea of Thieves? Isn't that about pirates?
I've only played that like 3 times.
Okay.
But it's so good. It's just so good. I'm somewhere about in the middle of the second season, I think.
I love that long. Just as a fan, I love the long format that they're taking these days with Netflix and like a show like Jessica Jones would not have worked as a movie.
Yeah.
You got to see
Take
her
advantage
beginning,
of
middle,
that,
and end. You got to see her unravel and get.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
well that slow burn,
all of that. Being able
in a regular show that would have been canceled before it even got
Yep.
finished.
Exactly,
got
able
the
to
good
tell
stuff.
those stories in that long format
Yeah.
makes so much makes a difference. I'm watching Peaky Blinders right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's 6 episodes and they're intense, and it's this long story that they're
Yeah.
able to tell and watch
Because you
everything.
can take your
slowly.
damn time.
It's
Right,
so
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It's
And
so good.
I think binging has sort of set that free in a lot of ways because if you're having to wait a week between those episodes, it can be really tedious. But if you're watching like 3 or 4 episodes in a row, it doesn't matter that some of them are a little slow and more ponderous
No.
and taking
It's the
their
difference,
time.
I guess,
love it.
if you want to bring it to gaming terms, the difference between a one shot or a weekend or
campaign,
and a campaign. Exactly.
Uh-huh,
You're
yeah.
able to take your time and let this thing unfold, and you realize
Yeah.
that the bartender that had been serving you the entire time is actually the crime boss
Yeah.
who's been fucking with you the entire time, and you've been telling him all your secrets.
Right.
I'm gonna write this down. This is such a great idea. I've never put this together before.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I'm so glad you mentioned that because coincidentally, the game that I've been working on
What?
has only ever been run in one shots, and I had a brief attempt to try and do like an online game with some friends from around the country, but it was just so hard to organize everything, and I was still trying to write a book. And
hold down a job.
this Sunday, and hold down a job, which is a weird
And
thing
have a
to do.
relationship, yeah.
Yeah. This Sunday we get to kick off a campaign of Demigods,
Yes.
and it's actually going to go a bunch of Sundays, and they're good, long 4-hour sessions, and
Yeah.
it's going to be
Is that
great.
with this group here?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
Who's
going to
in your game?
play.
This guy
Nice.
and Kimmy and Quiddy is not her name.
Abria.
Quiddy's her Twitter name, and Samantha. Sam. We have a lot of Sams
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
Red Pandroid.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, very excited about this.
Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Play the Verdant. The Verdant character is very fun.
The what? The
I had a
Verdant?
lot of fun
Oh.
with my Verdant
Oh, yeah.
character. I'd love to
I
play
think-
that character again.
Yeah.
That was a hoot.
Wait, I think that's the one I haven't played. I've played. I think I'm going to play the Elemental because I played it the very, very first test session, one shot. I played the Elemental and it's gone through a lot of changes.
very
so,
different from
so
mine, yeah.
I'm excited about kind of checking it out again after months of seeing the development process.
Did I tell you about the porn star Verdant?
No.
Oh,
but
Davey Krieg.
Holy
Krieger?
word.
Oh, yeah.
Krieg. Sat down to play do a play test with me at the con OrcCon, and he rolled up the Verdant and gave us his backstory as like so the Verdant is just this like full of life and vigor
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
and he wrote the character as a porn star
That's
guy,
awesome.
and
Bacchus.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that was the thing. It was like all this like background. He's like, well, I'm just gonna like monetize the way I'm already living.
Right.
You know,
There's no coincidence
awesome.
that pictures of Bacchus look like Ron Jeremy.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying.
yeah,
Right? Yeah.
yeah. It was a lot of fun to see. Like it was. I think it was the first time in a long time that somebody made a character that I just did not see coming.
Right.
Pun intended. And that's a treat. I think that's a treat for any GM. You know, when you
Yep.
sit down
Yeah.
and somebody hands you something, you're like, I've literally never seen this before.
Well, you
Thank
think
you.
so.
Yeah.
Some people get disarmed, like, oh my god, you're not taking my game seriously. But
Oh no,
Oh,
no! I was
yeah.
so pleased. I mean, there was a split second where I was like, "Oh God,
Yeah.
porn star," and then he like just unrolled this character. I was like, "This is amazing!"
it makes sense
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
within the parameters
Yeah.
I gave you. You
yeah.
get wow.
We had a
Right.
lot of fun. We had a lot of fun that day.
Nice.
All right.
But wait, there's more.
Who would like to read the first email on
This
this?
guy, Adam Vaughn.
Go.
I volunteer.
Yeah,
He's a
First
reader.
session shenanigans from
Thank you.
James.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Dear Happy Jacks, have a drink.
Oh, all right.
Cheers to that.
I'm James. I'm imagining that's what James sounds like. I'm James.
Yep, just like that.
In January, I started a new D&D 5e campaign in a homebrew setting I've been developing off and on for a few years. We're meeting on Roll20, and the group includes a combination of my longtime gaming buddies and people I just met through Roll20's LFG system. Looking for game, for those of you not familiar with the vernacular.
Oh, they actually have something built into it now, so you
Yeah.
can. Oh, that's
Apparently
good.
so. This
Yeah.
is my first time I'm hearing about that, too.
What a
It's like
brilliant
a
idea!
game finder
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Right.
That's cool. We had a great session 0, and everyone was excited to begin. The players came up with the concept of a church-sponsored Special Forces unit as their adventuring troop.
That's
Love
actually
it.
really cool.
I know,
awesome.
right? Yeah. On the first session, they were deployed on the northern edge of a human empire to investigate some urgent requests by the local clergy. The party covered the first leg of travel by ship. Along the way, they encountered another ship, grounded on some shallows and recognizable as belonging to a dark, majocratic foreign power. They board it and interrogate the captain, a white, who they learn was commanded to stay behind and guard the ship until his master returns.
Can I just steal the word Majocratic?
Yep.
I know. I love that one. I'm not familiar with that. I was not. Sorry, I had a Manhattan before I came over here.
You had half a Manhattan.
Yeah, I had 2/3 of a Manhattan. In the second third, I had to drink in like the 20 seconds before we
Well, to
left.
be fair, you can't see all of Manhattan in one night.
No,
But
not with that attitude.
they board it and interrogate the captain, a white, who they learn was commanded to stay behind and guard the ship until his master returns. So the PCs killed it, I'm assuming the white, along with the skeletal oarmen lurking below decks. No sweat, I'm not looking to play a morally nuanced game yet. They're church enforcers. These are undead, and church doctrine is unambiguous on the prescribed course of action: kill it with fire.
Kill it with fire! Kill it!
This was all just to foreshadow that a foreign power has arrived. Lest the players think they're getting a 5-minute workday, that's when the sea worm attacks attracted by the recent battle. Nice. It's a meatbag solo encounter scaled to their level. In order to showcase the complication, its grapple attack, I first had it attack an NPC sailor. The plan was for the sea worm to remain roughly stationary, grapple a creature, then swing it around like a club, causing damage to both the grappled creature and another
That's
target.
fantastic.
I know, right? Yeah. I know, right? James, you're doing great so far.
Yeah, I'm loving this.
That doesn't happen because the bard casts Dissonant Whispers. Bards ruin everything. I rule this does not break the grapple, so the sea worm flees underwater with the sailor in its mouth. They wait. We exit initiative. I finally think to ask for clarification from the players if they are wearing armor. The cleric and paladin confirm they are in heavy armor. Are you sure? They're sure. The sea worm emerges to attack again. I immediately roll 1d10 to select a random target from 4 PCs and 6 NPCs. The cleric's number comes up, and I telegraph that he is the focus of the sea worm's attention. On its turn, it successfully grapples the cleric. Once again, the plan is to bat around the victim like a club, but it shouldn't be too hard for the cleric to escape on his turn, especially if another PC helps him. Yay, teamwork?
Yeah, I hope
But
so.
it's the bard's turn next. Fucking
Oh.
bards.
Jesus.
The player announces, I cast Dissonant Whispers. Again. The cleric is still grappled in a manner identical to the sailor who was dragged to his watery doom moments ago. Even worse, we confirmed the cleric is wearing heavy armor, so his prospects are especially poor once he's over the railing. I freeze for a moment, then announce, that action is potentially lethal to your ally. It's probably good that you clarify that, because bards don't often know.
Yeah.
Wow!
Nor care.
Nor care.
We're in the zone, man. We're making music.
That's why.
The game comes to a
feeling
screeching halt. We talk it over a few minutes and arrive at a group majority decision that the spell goes off, but the sea worm releases the cleric because he's upwards of 250 pounds in his armor and gear, not some scrawny sailor like the one who got dragged overboard earlier. I give them a first session shenanigans pass. The game resumes. Much fun is had by all, and we won D&D that night.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I advise
I
the
wanna
player.
play in this game.
I know, right? It's really
cool.
good.
James, please contact me. I don't have any time to play in other games.
I know, right? Yeah. I advise the players to tease the bard's player from time to time by reminding him about this incident. How about you? Do you go a little easy on the first session of a new campaign, or is it balls to the wall from the get-go? Got any first session death horror stories of your own? Have a drink, but you'll never be douchebags to me.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers.
Never be douchebags to me.
absolutely endorse going easy on round one, especially if it's a group of strangers.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
If it's my group of friends who I've played with a bunch, yeah, all gloves are off. Like, I will
Yeah.
murder your ass.
you
Like,
guys.
yeah. like PC death is not my intention. I am very much a fan of the players and these characters. Like, I want to see the cool story, but you telegraphed everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This bard is 100% responsible, and as far as I'm concerned, wanted the cleric to die.
Yeah.
Like,
Possibly guilty of murder.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's attempted murder.
Yeah.
You did everything right.
Yep.
You set up everything so that they would have a clarity. There was no gotcha moment. There was no, it's like, look, if you do this thing, bad shit will happen. It grappled the thing. You cast that spell. It went into the water and drowned the dude in its mouth. Then the exact same situation comes back around like, yes, that's going to happen again.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Yeah.
but I 100% agree with how you handled that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I do too.
this is potentially lethal to your teammate, and everyone's like, "Wait, what?"
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. And now they know that you use foreshadowing, and that you telegraph things, and that you try to set up things, but you also want to maintain an internal logical consistency,
Right.
which. For a bunch of people sitting around a table playing pretend together, it's the only thing that keeps us from devolving into playground sandbox. I have an invincibility shield. No, you don't. Yes, I do.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the only difference between us and toddlers in the sand. Is
There's rules, people.
internal logical consistency.
And we take that consistency.
Oh, God, yeah.
We take that difference very seriously.
Yeah.
And I don't know the last time you played like Shields with a toddler, but there are some serious rules.
Yeah.
And usually they're entirely 100% in favor of the
Yeah,
toddler
yeah.
and against you.
Let's
Yeah.
pretend you don't have a shield and sword right now, and then I'm going to kill you, okay?
Right.
All right, here we go. What?
What? Yeah. No, that's the rules. You don't have a sword and
Oh.
shield, and I do. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
All right. Well, I'm
Yeah.
dead.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Anybody else?
Did anyone have any stories like that? Early death stories that they averted or let happen? Anything like
I'm
that?
trying to think of something specific.
Yeah,
I had one that almost happened, and I just cheated, so it didn't.
yeah.
And that was when I've talked about this a lot, when I ran a GURPS one shot, and it was like a time travel thing. I had made a recording. The players had found a clay cylinder that fit exactly in the wax cylinder Vitrola.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, cool.
Like everything about it, like perfectly fit in there, but it was made out of clay, and it was verified to be thousands and thousands of years old. It had been
fun.
perfectly protected inside of this pyramid or something.
Yeah.
And they listened to it, and I had made a recording of this super scratchy recording with my best Serbian accent, and it was Nikola Tesla saying that he was stuck back in time,
yeah.
and could someone please come and get him? Basically.
Nice.
So that was the beginning of it, and then the players, when it started, there was a firefight right in the very beginning, and I got a critical success on that.
Oh,
One of
yeah.
the PCs with a rifle, and it would have killed
Yeah.
his character, and so I'm like, I misses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it was a regular hit.
I'm a big fan. So here's my philosophy. Whenever I'm GMing, especially because I have no control really if I'm a player, other than to say I don't like this game. But I don't like conflict, so I actually won't say that. I'll just make
just
excuses
suffer.
for like 6 months, and then I'm like, well, I've missed for 6 months. I guess I can't come anymore.
That gets me out of the game, right?
Right? Yeah. Yeah. But sorry, just nearly fell off my chair. I should have more beer.
Yep.
Or another Manhattan.
I know. I almost went and bought some whiskey to bring, but
Maybe a two Manhattan.
yeah. Sorry.
Well played.
Now I'm a little distracted. Tainted, if you will.
I don't get it. I don't get
You
it.
in your Gucci shoes.
There it is.
1, 2, 3. It's always in 3.
Come all the way back around.
Yeah. You know, I read all of the state of the podcast posts, and one of them
Breaking
was
everything that they said.
Yes.
Right now.
No,
Sorry.
some of it was like, you guys don't drink enough and burp enough, and I'm like trying to drink enough so that I can burp. But, you know,
I still hit the mute buttons.
Okay.
I hit the mute button
Yeah.
when I burp now.
Okay.
Solely for Canada.
Yes, yeah. I'm a gay Protestant from the Midwest. I'm not supposed to burp
Wait a
any
minute.
way.
You're a Protestant?
I was. I should use the correct
Reformed-
tense there.
a Reformed
Yes,
Protestant.
Reformed Protestant.
Wait, let me do that better. Wait. You're a Protestant? Oh. I never saw that coming.
No, I know, right? Yeah. Beer, and finish my thought, which was, so when you're thinking about storytelling, and this is cooperative storytelling at its best form, in my opinion. But when you're thinking about storytelling, the PCs are the main characters. These are the heroes of your story. Whether your story is heroic and epic, or whether it's tragic and
Or slapstick comedy.
slapstick comedy, these are the heroes. They're the stars. They're the characters that are the most important. If they die for like random reasons, like the sea worm retreated and didn't let go of you in the very first 5 minutes, that's not a PC.
Yeah.
That's not what happens to the main characters of the story.
Yeah, that's Ned Stark.
Exactly. Yeah. It might be an important character, but that's not a focus character. And so if you are so tied to the rules in a story that you're telling that you are killing off your PCs in the first session, I think that is weak storytelling. Mm-hmm. And you are perfectly welcome to do it, and especially if you're more of the like dungeon crawl. We have no emotional attachment to these characters. We're just here to hack and slash, and we're gonna, or we're borderline strategy gaming with some voices. Fine, that's totally okay. You play that, and you kill off whatever characters you want. You're not telling a story. You're playing a game. Totally acceptable and
Sure.
extremely fun in some cases. But if you're telling a story, there should be some weight to those characters, and they should be important. And these characters are not the same level as characters who would die in the first 20 minutes of the story that you're telling.
Right.
I think there's a couple of things going on here. You brought up the point about you've just learned something about your GM. Mm-hmm. You learned about his style. You learn to watch for his tells. You learn what it is he does, and he's a fair GM, and that's really cool. I really like the way you resolve that problem.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day when I was an angry 15-year-old, I was a pretty vengeful GM, and I can remember on one occasion we were playing a Champions game, and we had varying power levels. So we had like a ninja character, we had a Iron Man character, and such. Long story short, they were fighting some robots, and I set up a situation where the ninja character could be effective, basically putting a door in the robot. And he never bothered to look for it. He kept trying to just attack them.
Right.
And I think I hinted at, well, your sword seems to be ineffective. They just got angrier and angrier. And in hindsight, I should have let them know it's like, all right, there's powering level disparities.
Forced a perception check or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Part of it, too, was not completely understanding your power set. And I think perhaps because it's the first time, the new bard, he didn't fully understand the ramifications of his powers. And I think that's also on the GM to know that as well. Sometimes the characters get made, or sometimes they pick powers, and they don't fully understand what it is they're doing. And I think it's fair for the GM to say, all right, this is what this power does, and if you do that, this is what's going to happen. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Right.
And if they decide then that they're going to kill the cleric, that's full-on murder. But I think a lot of times they don't fully grok what it is they're doing.
Well,
There's a lot going on. They're like, I cast the effective spell. It worked last time.
It's just like the whole thing when people make a character, and for like the first 2 or 3 sessions, it's like, okay, if there's something about your character that you made that you don't like, it's not working for you, just go ahead and change it.
Yeah, just swap it.
Just let me know what it is and go ahead and change
Swap
it.
a skill point if it doesn't, figure out your character.
But you won't know that until you drag
Right,
a cleric to his
exactly.
death.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think it's fine to have a break-in period for your character,
Right.
where you kind of
Absolutely.
figure out what it is you want to play, whether or not you're playing what you want.
Also, I have a slightly different take on this in that, or let's say a caveat. This cleric would have died through no fault of their own, right? The bard, like if the bard was bringing about their own doom, I think my warning would have been like, look, this is what happened last time. You're caught in the jaws of this worm. Are you sure you want to cast Dissonant Whispers on it? because last time it dragged a sailor to its doom. And I don't even know if I would be that clear. I'd be like, are you sure you want to do that? Do you remember what happened last time? Because it's important to me that they have this sense of internal consistency of like, you cast this last time, it dragged someone to their death.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen now?
Right. Well, and I make fun of the bard in this situation. However, if you're looking at this from a character's perspective, it is entirely possible if the character is thinking, well, this cleric is going to die anyway. Yep. It's caught in the jaws of the sea worm,
and they've just seen an NPC die.
Yep, yeah.
Right.
So it's either we kill the cleric so that the rest of us can survive because I know this drives it off, or we are all going to die and the cleric dies anyway.
But I think if that was the player's character choice, the game wouldn't have ground to a halt with a big conversation.
Yeah, that's true.
He would have said, I know I'm saving us all and sacrificing the cleric. I'm doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
Again, you guys are saying the same thing, which is I don't think either of them completely or the bard didn't completely realize the consequences of his actions.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's completely within the GM's purview to point that out.
And in fact, the responsibility.
I think so. I think so. At any time, even an experienced character, it's like, all right, you know that if you do this, this is what's going to happen. You know you're a bard. You've been doing this enough. You know that's what's going to happen. Because sometimes the drunk player might go, okay, right? And you can still do that. I just want you to know that this is the consequence.
If you want to fire your giant shoulder-mounted magnetic accelerated railgun cannon right next to where your friend is.
Well, that's an oddly specific reference.
Position. Then
it was tactically sound.
Then you should have some hopefully the GM would stop and say, now there's a big area effect, and that your friend is.
Did the GM stop and actually point that out to the player?
I feel like that the GM probably did in that situation, but
the problem in this situation was that there was a critical failure. That was the problem of the situation.
I can't recall what the specific
it's
situation was.
It's not that the band was off.
We were fighting a demon with an iron taint.
Yep.
We were. Because we were because Bill's character was attacking the taint. And the party keeps clumping on stuff. They all have ranged weapons. I have one gun. It's an area effect, and it's a big, huge cannon of whoop ass.
Yes,
I was playing a glitter boy.
In fact, his picture is
I think it got taken down. But he has a rail gun.
Yeah,
and if you're near him when he fires it, you're deafened for a certain number of rounds. And if you're where it is, it has an area where it just does an enormous amount of damage. Practically obliterates everything around.
It shoots like Volkswagen buses. I mean, it's huge.
It's like titanium darts that are going at hyper velocities. So I fire the thing, and we're playing Savage Worlds. I rolled 2 1s, which is a critical failure.
Yeah.
And I had placed it, and I'd done this numerous times before, where it's like the party clumps. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to aim here, so I'll hit the thing.
Right.
And my skill level's super high, right?
Yeah.
I very rarely miss.
It's a surgeon with that guy.
But there's nothing you can do when you roll 2 1s.
Nope.
So I rolled 2 1s. I'm like, I critically failed. And then Bill's character decided, because he had a thing on his character sheet, he was playing a crazy. He has a thing called Blaze of Glory, which is one of his... probably
ending
an edge.
moves.
It's like an edge or something.
Yeah.
But his character dies, but all kinds of other stuff happen.
Right.
So basically, I fire and end up hitting one of our other player characters, who is the young dragon, Samantha's character, and it's going towards her at hyper velocity. But his character, because he's all juiced up and everything, is able to leap in front of it, and it's like vaporized, and it deflects the dart enough so that it misses her.
Yeah.
And the thing is, she probably would have survived the hit.
I still remember you hit all of them, actually, but a lot of them shook it off, because there was a radius, wasn't there?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
But I will say that goes back to my point of that's a worthy PC death.
Oh, yeah.
That's a way a PC dies.
That's built into the game mechanics of that game.
Yeah, and that's great. I love it when you have a character that you love so much that you are willing to sacrifice them for the story. And that's when you know, like, you've really got a good story going.
Not when the bard's being a douchebag and sings the wrong song. And
Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't think this bard was doing that on purpose.
No.
No.
And I think that's really the takeaway from this.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's like if once you explain it to them and they still go, yeah, fuck that cleric. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a whole different story. Now you're now
Right,
telling.
yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
intent. That's murder.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
I don't know
So
how I
right.
got to this so early. Like in high school, running Shadowrun First Edition. I don't know. Maybe there was something about this in the rule book. Like they had mentioned, hey, if you're a new GM, watch out for things like this. But like I remember telling my high school players, hey, look, guys, you're not going to get killed in some chump death, but if you stand up in the middle of a gunfight and run across the room to stab a guard with your sword,
Yeah.
who's like firing at you with a light machine gun, you're not gonna make it.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Right? Like that's it's not gonna happen.
You should know.
And it seems funny to me that like 17-year-old me, was thinking like the book must have said something about that.
probably did.
I don't think I could have come up with that on my own at that
Yeah.
point. But just that there would be something baked into the play to say like, yeah, like look, this is a deadly game, and you've got health points, and you could die, but don't give anyone a chump death.
Right.
Right.
Like make it worth it. Like this is a game to have fun and be
Yeah,
cinematic
yeah.
and big, and like don't give anyone a chump death. But if somebody's completely careless and they understand the risks, that's not really a chump death.
Yes.
Right.
They made a real bad decision.
The
Yeah,
term being
yeah.
a fan of your characters or being a fan of your players,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
is new to me because that was never mentioned anywhere in High Guy
Oh,
Galaxy.
no.
Oh yeah.
No,
Well,
never.
I missed the whole D&D train
Yeah.
growing up.
It was
Like I went
so
straight.
weird.
I
It
started with Shadowrun.
It was almost, and still is, into it sort of say competitive. It's
Yeah,
like players
yeah.
won't even let the GM know what they're going to do until they do it.
No.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, it's surprising the GM. So now the GM doesn't have time to
Yeah.
plan a way to fuck with
And
you.
you still do
But-
that
Yes.
in our games. We still have
it's
that
a reaction.
mindset. Yes.
I
Yeah.
still play not competitive, but I don't because with D&D, especially back in the day when people would you give them a chance to retaliate against you. So if you surprise them, now they don't have a chance
Right.
to plan and they have to react. Maybe that's where that sort of comes from.
Yeah, when
It
you're
absolutely
assuming a
does, yeah.
GM who, when you tell them like, "Oh, I'm gonna cast polymorph on myself and make myself real small and then sneak around," then you're assuming the GM on their turn is gonna
Make a
like
cat.
do
Right.
something to counteract
Right.
it
Yeah.
before you do your thing and
Yes.
metagame it.
Right.
That's your fear is metagaming.
Well, and yes,
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
big problem. The word metagame hadn't been invented yet, but
Right.
that was a big problem back in
Right.
the day. I know
That's
that
almost a whole other topic. Is GM metagaming?
it absolutely is.
yeah.
It really is.
But to bring it back around, I think that a lot of games now, that advice, be a fan of your character, is written into books. It's not always, or be a fan of your player. As a player, I'm a fan
both.
of my character.
But
but
no, it's characters. You're a fan of the characters. You're a fan of the
Yeah,
characters.
I want to watch the show.
You do.
Right.
And I think that little phrase, however they phrase it in books, is becoming much more prevalent. And that's perhaps maybe what you hit upon, but I think that's a real eye-opener, and it's something that's, well, to my mind, new. Probably been around 40 years. It's new.
Yeah.
And it is a revelation because games by their construct really are competitive. Whether you're competing against randomness like in Solitaire, whether you're competing against other players like Monopoly,
Even traditional RPGs.
even traditional
They-
RPGs.
look at the combat mechanics.
Yes.
It's like there's a reason you have dice. The GM just doesn't decide who's
Right.
going to win or lose.
But there's
You-
still a combat kind
Yes,
of thing
there
going
is.
on. Like
Yes.
you're throwing bad guys at me, and I don't like it, and I'm going to figure out a way to get around your
Yeah.
bad guys. Damn it!
I feel like maybe a lot of that comes out of D&D's origins as being connected to strategy gaming,
War games, yeah.
to war games, and so it's natural to play that as more of it's an adversarial relationship, and it's not a I don't like you, we're enemies relationship. It's a I'm the opposition. You're my opposition, I'm yours. We're fighting against each other in this game that we're playing, and that's the nature of the game. It's like when you're playing Battleship, it's not like the other person on the person on the other side is evil. They're just the opposition.
Well, maybe they are.
Yeah.
Maybe some of us play I'm playing the Allies and they're playing the Axis.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe we role play a little bit when we're playing it. Maybe.
Right.
The
yeah.
Empire's a legitimate government. We're all good.
Right,
On that side. They're the ones in charge. Just
Right,
being
yeah.
a good soldier. I think there are a lot of GMs out there that still play sort of antagonistic.
Oh,
Actually, I can think of one who even goes by an angry denomination that really likes it, or at least revels in the fact that he likes to pick on his players.
Oh, yeah.
But I know that we get enough horror stories, and we even get enough people that writing in that they don't. That's kind of the norm. There's a lot of that out there, and maybe the landscape is slowly changing.
But you know what? But when it comes to combat, I don't think as long as the GM is acting within the constraints of the NPCs or the monsters or whatever that he has in front of him.
Yeah.
Playing tactically, a sound tactics.
Yeah.
If you're a GM who's capable of that, which I'm not, but if you're a GM who's capable of that, and they have a good leadership, and you're fighting, let's say, a bunch of veterans or something like that, having the GM look at that and do his best to try to beat the party in that staged combat. I don't think that's a disservice.
No, that's different. I think that's different from what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But is that different from what you're talking about?
Well,
You're talking
unless
about
you play with Bill, who's really good with tactics, and he wipes out an entire party with one kobold.
Well,
okay, that could happen. That could happen.
and honestly, this is something I recently discovered. So I recently ran a 5e game. I ran the Sunless Citadel campaign in 5e for my nephew and some neighbors, most of which had never played D&D before. So I'm responsible for explaining the rules to them. I'm responsible for creating the setting, the story, and I'm responsible for running their opposition. So, I knew for a fact that there were things I could do with my NPCs that could just wipe them out instantly because I knew the rules and they didn't know that I could do these things.
Right.
I chose to go easier on them. Not to fudge rolls or anything like that, but I was like, I tried to play it more as the opposition was at the same level as them, as opposed to the opposition just knows how to game the rules.
A finely
better.
tuned machine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Here, little toddler, here's a very big sword, and I've got the same big sword. Whack!
Whack.
They have the same weapon.
Well, it's what? Yeah, we follow the same rules.
That's like when Allie and I, when somewhere in the house we have there's foam swords or something, and it's like the difference between a kid and an adult. She's trying to hit my sword. I'm trying to hit her head. I'm like, boom, boom,
yeah.
boom. I'm like, well, you need to parry. Get your guard up. Boom, boom.
Right? Yeah.
And then she goes for the taint, and it's all over. At that point, just Stu's on the ground going, and Allie's standing over him going,
I am She-Ra!
There's collateral damage in a taint attack.
That Frazetta scene with Conan standing on the body, that's Allie. I'm Stu curled up.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to mute for a second. I'm sorry.
And that's it for Adam tonight. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you, James, for the email.
Yeah.
We didn't
keep
have
doing what you're doing, James. That's amazing.
We didn't have a lot of stories.
And a good writer, I got to say. I really like the way he composes emails. Yeah. Can I send you my emails so you can make them better?
Yeah, and send us more emails.
Right? Yeah.
Please.
Static damage versus dynamic damage. Brandon from Delaware, who would like to read that?
I'll take that.
You got a good Delaware accent.
No, this is written like a robot, though, so I can do that.
Okay.
Greetings, tertiary adjuncts for douche Imitrix 01. Just to mix things up a bit, I'm going to open by telling you to drink rather than sticking it at the end. And a P.S., so do so.
Sticking it.
Thank you for sticking it in.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean it. No. Go ahead.
We were all going there.
Just don't call me Shirley. As anyone on the Discord can attest, there's a Happy Jacks Discord channel, if you didn't know.
Oh, we forgot about that in our social media.
Yep. This is a question I've been mulling over for a while, and I still have yet to come to an answer on my own. Which is a better system, static damage or dynamic damage? Allow me to elaborate. In some systems, World of Darkness, Genesis, etc., weapons have a flat damage rating and add extra damage based upon excess degrees of success achieved on the attack roll. Generic rifle number 3 inflicts 4 damage on a shot, plus 1 per success after the first. This is what I mean by static damage. However, other systems, D20, SW is probably Star Wars, Savage Worlds.
But I like the way your mind works.
Yeah. List their weapon as having a range of damage determined by die. A longsword inflicts 1d8 damage and gains no bonuses to damage regardless of how incredible the attack roll is, critical hits notwithstanding. This is what I mean by dynamic damage. I call that wild damage, by the way, and I think we're about to agree on a bunch of stuff. Oh, no, you don't express your opinion. Well, which do you prefer? Why? Do you believe one style is better for a particular tone of game, pulp, horror, etc.? I'm curious to hear the crew's opinions on this matter. Keep kicking ass and taking names, guys. Corporal Brandon Lichtenstein, just another busy drone on the forums and Discord.
We weren't supposed to read his last name. Damn it.
Oh, hell.
Sorry.
Well,
You can't say that.
Yeah.
You'll have to go bleep it out. Make a note of it.
I'll bleep it out.
okay. That's been bleeped, and thank you for your service.
Hour 15.
P.S. Stu, I request earnestly that you do another GURPS actual play. For all the love it gets on this podcast, there's a dearth of content directly relating to it.
I have one
of
planned. It'll probably happen after L5R.
PPS favorite beer. I assume that's a question. Mine is the Abbott 12 St. Bernardus.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Free beer.
Free beer. Free beer.
Red Trolley Ale.
Oh, you know what?
Actually,
That's a good one.
yeah,
Had that
yeah.
last while ago.
Free
Quite
as
I
nice.
love
the
red
beer
ales
now.
and Red
Thank
Trolley.
you.
Red
I love
Trolley
red
is
ales.
so good.
I like
yeah.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and it's San Diego, I think.
You have a
I know,
parody
right?
song
Yeah.
to record.
I'm as free as
It's a beer now.
Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Yeah, easy.
What? I'm drinking it right now. If only they
I-
gave
I-
us money.
I wish they were public and I would own stock.
No.
Because they always say you should buy the stock of the products that you love.
Yeah, yeah. I will say it's one of the few pale ales that I actually enjoy drinking.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
It's consistent. It's
Yes.
consistently good.
Yeah.
In regards to Brandon's email,
Oh!
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and
I-
real quick in regards to Brandon's PS, I did challenge Stu recently to actually expose me to GURPS in a way that would actually make me like
that
this.
sounds
Okay,
dirty.
Yeah.
you can be.
So.
It's a time travel game.
Oh, okay. All right.
I want to
okay.
play in it too because my only experience with GURPS has been bad.
That's what I
Yeah.
told him. My one single GURPS experience was so bad, and yet so many people love it. I'm like, okay,
That's not an
let's-
uncommon experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
think
let's
that-
see if I missed something.
It'll be like an abused gamer shelter.
Yes.
for GURPS.
No, it's
Right?
The experience that I've had, and I've played
Everyone will have
multiple
teddy bears.
times. I think the GURPS grognards are maybe among the most extreme
That-
of.
Oh, I don't know. Pathfinder.
It's
Oh.
not
Okay, yeah, I yield to the path.
It's not the system. It's the GM because. Anyway.
Well, that's what I.
It is,
That's
yes.
what I'm talking
We'll
about.
get-
is-
but it's
that's the problem with any game. But
Yes.
I feel like certain games draw certain kinds of GMs. Like
Yes.
you're not going to get that grognard running Apocalypse World. Right,
Yeah,
like there's nothing for them
Yeah.
to grognard.
right.
Yeah,
If
I
I
mean-
may verb a noun.
GURPS
Right.
quite
Yeah.
literally has a rule for everything.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And
I mean, the people who coming off of D&D 3.5 were like, I want to double down on this. Those are grognardy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain type
Or
of character.
grog nerdy.
Oh,
Did you say
well
grog?
played,
Yeah,
sir.
I like that.
I've been trying to figure out a way to work Dearth Elemental into this, but
Oh my god, I don't know what a Dearth Elemental is, but I want.
That's the
a lot of
elemental. That's the elemental that just wants more.
Now, let me just say, my preference between these two types of damage systems is for the static damage system.
Yeah.
And I say that for a couple, really one reason from both sides. Player is like, roll, I miss, god damn it, I roll, I miss, god damn it, I roll, I hit. Oh, I rolled a 1.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a minimum amount of damage you're going to do with the static system.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Right.
If you have a rifle or a sword or something, it's going to do 4 points of damage or 5
Yeah.
points of damage or whatever it is. And then all the extra successes you get, because I don't know about Genesis.
Yeah.
I only know about
Here's the thing that bugs me about a dynamic damage system is that a great axe and a dagger can roll the same damage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Now, theoretically, you're adding your strength bonus and blah, 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 and that's your floor.
Yeah.
But that's, to me, what I don't like about that is the wild range of numbers that the great axe can get.
Yeah.
1 through 2, 12 possible numbers just sounds crazy to me.
Hey, okay, this is going to tread dangerously close to a minefield. Please just allow me to get up to the edge without going there.
I will step on the mine for you. Go ahead.
Okay, but a lot of the dynamic damage came from Dungeons and Dragons, where
Yes.
armor was abstracted.
Yes.
And so the dagger and the battle axe. The dagger and the battle axe. I'm at the edge of the minefield. I haven't actually stepped in. I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
But the dagger and the battle axe can do the same damage because the armor wasn't fully abstract. Now, with something like GURPS, or in a lot of modern games where armor is statted out and will take damage and such, the dynamic damage doesn't make much sense anymore, does it?
Right.
Well, you
Yeah.
can still have swings and damage in GURPS with damage because of the fact that you only have D6s. So it's however many D6s plus a die modifier, and that die modifier is really one of the things that's determining. The big difference, of course, is when you're rolling 2d6 as opposed to a d12.
Yeah.
Your results are going to kind of clump up
Yeah.
near 7,
Yeah.
whereas
You
your
get an
results with the
average.
D12
Yeah.
could be anything.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that gets me about that, and I know I prefer static damage because I grew up on Shadowrun, and in Shadowrun your gun did 4 damage, and then if you got 2 successes, it stages up, and it's not 4 light damage, it's 4 serious damage.
Oh,
And
okay.
And what it felt to me, like the very first game system I played rewarded me for a good hit, right?
Right.
But in D&D, if their AC is 12 and you get a 12 or a 19, it doesn't matter. It's not a better hit, you know? And in Shadowrun, if you needed 2 successes to hit, but you got 5 successes, the system rewards you for doing that much better.
Right.
Right? And so that felt satisfying to me.
Came out of somebody's D&D house rule.
Sure.
It may
Probably
have.
so,
It may
yeah.
have, yeah.
Probably. You know, and like if you beat the AC by 5 or more, maybe it should do something. You know, maybe you should add however much you beat the AC by to, but now D&D has more math in it.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
there's enough math
Yeah.
in D&D. Don't change the way you're playing D&D. I'm just saying I prefer the static system where this thing does this much damage, and if you get a really good hit, you're going to add it or double it, or you're going to do more damage because good job.
Just another busy drone on the forum says that Genesis uses the same damage that the Star Wars FFG, which makes sense.
Oh,
game
okay.
uses, which is a number plus you add.
Yeah, plus your successes
I think
or
so.
boons or whatever. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
the static damage only because it simplifies things for everybody.
Yes.
Yes.
A
that
bullet
too.
is a bullet. It is always the same point, unless you get a couple of overages. And everybody, there's not a lot of complicated running down. Now, when you said
Getting hit with a bullet is always going to ruin your day.
I rolled a 19. How did I only get a 1? There's none of those arguments. It's
Yeah.
like a bullet is a bullet. Here's your 4 points. Take it and go run, and mark it off, and we're going to keep going.
Yeah, subtract your 1 armor and go.
There we go.
Yeah.
And it speeds the game up. Ultimately, we're trying to tell a story here. We're not really trying to adjudicate damage and keep track of it. Because when a game starts turning more into rule tab keeping and math and trying to do spreadsheeting, yeah, I'm out. It's not fun.
Oh, just another busy drone actually is Brandon.
Yes.
Oh, hey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he said that.
Oh,
Well,
Yes.
no, he just said that in the.
He said
chat.
it here in his email
In
as
his
well.
letter.
I was peeing.
to be fair. So, I know.
And I
where
don't pre-read all of it. Just the beginning.
And I am a little frustrated when there's dynamic damage with a game that has, like, say, subtractive armor, or when there's a genuine armor stat that does something, and you're like, well, now why is I'm rolling a 1? What is that supposed to represent?
Right.
That I didn't shoot you well enough?
Yeah.
Well, it could
A grazing shot?
See, here's the wonderful and maybe kind of annoying thing about GURPS. Your damage is dynamic. You're going to roll, you have a gun, it's going to do X amount of damage or whatever. And there's formulas to figure out what your damage is, depending on what your strength is, if you're using melee weapons and stuff like that. So you have whatever your damage might be. It might be 2d6 plus 3, right? So you have that. So you're going to do at least 5 points of damage, which in GURPS is not nothing. The average character only has 10 hit points anyway.
But to me, the 5 to 15 range is fucking wild.
Oh, yeah.
That blows my mind.
Right.
That it could do 3 times as much damage as,
Well,
that's-
it can do more than that.
Yeah.
Because there's hit locations.
Yeah.
And there's multipliers for hit
It's
locations.
not getting better.
So if you are aiming for the vitals, which is -3 to hit,
that
So,
like
but-
the taint?
It,
See how I just subtly
it's from
worked
the,
it in there?
It's
I'm
from
like
the
Storm.
throat all the way to the taint. Yes,
Yeah.
all the way to the taint.
I'm not sure I appreciate that.
Your joke was way better than mine. That was the-
But if you hit the vitals, you're going to do, I think, twice damage. So whatever you roll, you're going to double it.
oh man.
If you hit for the head, I think it's 3 times damage.
It's easy. If you want to shoot somebody in the head, you take a round to aim. It negates the minuses.
It's minus
and
5
then you
to
do
hit.
like 5 times
It's
damage.
minus
'cause
5
you
to hit the
him
head.
in the head like you should.
But you also have an accuracy rating. So if you take 1 turn to aim, you add the accuracy rating to whatever your die roll is.
It's on the GM. You say, I want
It's
to
on the
shoot him in the
GM.
head.
Yeah,
He's like,
it's all on the
you're at a
GM.
minus 10 to hit.
It should be all on the GM.
What if I aim? Then it'll be even. All right, I'm going to aim for a round.
So
I shoot
if
him
you
in the
if
head.
you have a skill of 15, and you say I want to shoot the guy in the head, I would tell you need to roll a 10 or less on your 3d6 because you always roll 3d6 whenever you do anything.
Oh,
right?
Okay, that's
So
nice.
That's
you're-
it.
Right, so,
You're done. You
so,
played GURPS.
But that's a 50-50 shot. So
Yeah.
you might say, you know what, I'm going to take a turn to aim because the guy's just sitting there. Okay, accuracy rating of your weapon because it has a scope is +8. So now you have to roll an 18 or less
On 3 dice.
on 3 dice.
Well, that's guaranteed. Okay.
and 18 is always going to be a
Right.
fail.
And how much damage do you get with a bullet to the head, Stu?
If it's a sniper rifle, you're talking like 8d6.
That's a lot. So,
So-
8 damage.
8 damage at the very minimum,
The way I roll.
which will be tripled because you're aiming for the brain.
Yeah.
So that and your damage is whatever your health is, which is going to be somewhere between, for most characters, 8 to 15.
Okay.
So
It's
you're going to
almost always.
you're going to kill.
Well, I don't think we want to get bogged down in a
But I'm
GURPS
just-
tutorial. But
It's fine.
That wasn't bogged.
no,
There's no bogging.
I feel bogged.
It's got some modifiers. The problem with GURPS and the problem with probably the kind of people that ran it for you is there. If you go through those books and you distill out all of the dice modifiers, there are hundreds of them.
Yeah, and if your GM doesn't know the game backwards and forwards like Stu or
Flip, flip,
the
flip,
Mook
flip,
does,
flip, 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 flip.
yeah.
But what you need to do is you look at it. There's a few things you look for. There's range modifiers. You want to know those if it's far or whatever.
You're not selling him on it. He's
No.
He's tuning out. I can tell.
If you're
trying.
if you're aiming for a certain hit location, if you're not, you don't need to worry about it. It's whatever your skill level is, and that's basically it. And then you just basically look for what's the most relevant thing. Are you going to unstable target? You might be at a -1.
See, here's a streamline that I've always liked better. Shadowrun didn't have hit locations, and at one point we were like, oh, maybe we should come up with some, and then we realized, like, oh, this is complicated. If it did a lot of damage, it hit center mass or grazed the head or something. If it did a little bit of damage, it hit the leg or the arm.
Right.
Cool. It was like,
Well,
great, let's move on because this
Right.
is too much work.
the whole thing about the hit location in GURPS is it involves intent.
Yeah.
So if I want to hit the guy in the head, and I have the time to line up the shot and make the
I mean,
shot.
don't you always, if you're shooting at someone, are you always trying to do a killing shot?
Yes, but
I
that's
mean,
the point. I mean, I was playing
not
a game
necessarily.
about a year ago where my guy it was a sniper guy, took a shot, rolled well and rolled a 1 and barely broke the windshield. And he was aiming for the guy's head, and it was very anticlimactic. Yeah.
That wouldn't happen in GURPS.
It was the rules.
He would kill him. In GURPS, if you score a headshot, you're going to kill the guy. Unless it's like an ancient red dragon or something. then maybe it's
that is the nice thing about GURPS, especially if you have a GM that knows those rules and such, that you anything that you want to do, you're allowed to do. Nobody can sit there and go, I'm going to have to fudge something. I didn't find a chapter on headshots.
Let me just say, the author of the email said, couldn't that argument be used to describe the swingy nature of dynamic damage, though? So I think he's talking about GURPS.
I actually completely agree with that, and this is one of the reasons I don't mind dynamic damage. If you notice, I haven't really been contributing a lot to this subject because to me it's like whatever system I'm in, that's the system I'm buying into.
It's true.
You know, and
It's game
so I'm so yes, dynamic damage always screws me the fuck over every single time. It doesn't matter. But if I'm playing D&D, I'm like, well, I'm just going to get screwed over on the damage rolls, and I know this is what's going to happen. So whatever, I'm just going to have fun with it. But I think one of the things I always explain to newer players, especially, is it's not so much like damage is not the place where we have a problem figuring out what we're talking about. It's actually hit points and health that I think that confuses a lot of people.
What the heck is a hit point?
Right, yeah. And I think the idea of hit points, people think it's like, oh, it's these levels of health, but it's really not. It's an like you said with Armor Stork, it's an abstraction of how much you can take.
Yeah.
And so I try to remind people it's not like this just linear thing. And like once you hit, if you take so many hit points, you lose an arm. It's if you take so many hit points, it might be more damaging to you because of your morale or because of your exhaustion level. It does, just because you get to 0 hit points, it doesn't mean you have a sucking chest wound. Just means that you are at the end of your limits.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on the situation,
right,
too. Like, if you got to 0 hit points, being held under the water in the mouth of a sea worm, then, you're at a real dire situation.
That's very different 0 hit points than if some, kobolds have been, poking you with their sticks for 20 minutes.
But I will say, one of the things that really... I had trouble with. So I didn't play D&D until 2002, 3, maybe probably 2003.
That would have been 3rd edition, probably.
Third and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, like 15 years ago, basically. Was my very first D&D game. But I've been playing RPG since 1989, and that's been Shadowrun and all the point-based systems, and Palladium and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and a lot of different stuff. But for me, the thing that had been so consistent in many different games was the degradation of your performance as you take damage. It's built into Shadowrun. It's built into
I love that shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to me, it was tricky that in D&D...
You're just as deadly until you hit 0.
Yeah, I've got 50 hit points. I'm down to 1 hit point. No problem. I'm still just charging ahead. And, it was one of the things that I thought 4th edition actually did well was the bloodied mechanic.
Yeah.
Right.
At least had something.
Right.
Half your hit points. Okay, that's probably worth noting that you're at half your hit points.
Well, one of the go back to
be
GURPS.
consequences.
Go back to GURPS for 1 second. You attack a limb, you do half damage. Whatever your health is. Let's say your health is 12. You do 6 points to a limb. That limb is crippled.
Sure.
It's not usable anymore.
Yeah.
So the combat effectiveness starts dropping because if you're right-handed and someone attacks your right arm, cripples it, you now have to pick your sword up with your left hand, and there's a -2 to every attack you have with it from that point on until you cut that limb off, and then you have the Dark Knight thing from Monty Python.
Headbutts.
You get headbutts or kicks. Which do shit damage.
There is one other thing that I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, and it does dovetail into what you guys are saying, which is the difference also between dynamic and static damage is that it can affect the way you play the game.
Sure.
If you have 1 hit point and you can still charge that kobold that's been poking you, and you are still effective. If you know that every time he pokes you, you're going to take 4 points of damage, and you're at your 4 last points, you're going to come up with a whole different way to assault that kobold.
True.
You're not just going to attack him straight out. You're going to bait him or negotiate or whatever. There is a different set of rules that happens when you're not suddenly immortal or when damage is consistent every time.
But if he's doing 1d4 damage, then
you could easily shrug it off. There's a chance. There's almost a
Or if he does 4 points of
75%,
damage
yeah.
plus whatever extra successes he gets.
Yeah.
Well, and that can also kind of lead to some character understanding.
Oh, it absolutely can. Because you can negotiate now instead of fighting all the time.
Or maybe you're especially if you have 4 hit points left and they do 1d4, then that can really tell you, are you the type of character that's going to step back and say, okay, let's try a different tactic?
No.
Or are you the one who's going on in there anyway?
that one. That's what I want to do.
What? Really?
Diabol says, we don't negotiate with kobolds.
Correct.
It's something that I've talked about in various reasons. We've talked about it for various reasons, but it is something that I've noticed that suddenly, when there's consequences to damage in GURPS or travel or whatever, and your hit points are low, you play the game very easily. Suddenly, tactics are much more important.
L5R.
Setting up traps much more important.
In 4th edition L5R, it's a deadly game because there's exploding dice when you roll a 10.
And it totally affects the way you play.
You go into a sword fight, you could end up being horribly ended.
Yeah.
It affects how you go into a sword fight.
Absolutely.
Like you want to know if you have
Which
the
is
high ground or not.
One of the reasons I always ran the game, it's like, okay, here's these guys and here's these guys. The leaders come up, Aiujutsu duel.
Yeah.
That way, there's only one character who's going to die.
Yeah.
If anyone's going to die.
Yeah.
Because that way, these two people are going to meet up, and they're going to... Because Aiujutsu duel in 4th edition L5R has like 3 phases of rolls. It's like you roll for you size up the other guy, and you get to know something about their stats. And then you go to your focus, which is where you calm your mind and prepare for your single attack. And then the attack happens, and depending on how you roll, I think you roll your initiative in that point, but there's modifiers for it. Depending on the previous rolls, you end up rolling, and because of the way damage works in L5R, a character with a katana is likely to debilitate a character if they score a hit. May not kill them, but will debilitate them. Because, it has that thing where it's like, you take X amount of damage, you're at minus whatever. You take this amount, you're at minus whatever. So, it usually, Aiujutsu duels usually end in one hit, or, a hit and a counter strike.
Yeah.
And that, and we had many combats where it's like, oh no, Aiujutsu duel, go.
Yeah.
And then leave it to the two of them to decide who's the most honorable.
I have a standing test that I use, and I say glibly, but it is really a test, which is I test a system, the damage in combat, by how much damage you take falling downstairs.
Oh, boy.
And how you adjudicate it. Right? And if you think about falling downstairs, like if each step is 4 points, by the time you get to the bottom, you're going to
die falling
Right,
downstairs.
yeah.
People do die falling downstairs. If it's a sliding scale, you could conceivably shrug it all off and get roll off to the bottom with your armor.
My 70-year-old mom fell down some stairs and was fine.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
either she's got
But a lot of
hundreds
70-year-old
of hit
moms
points.
didn't.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Well, clearly life is dynamic damage.
It's like there's I just don't think that there's always this line about how much do you want your game to be a simulator.
No, it's a test on how the game damages you, and how it's not necessarily which right or wrong. It is
Some games are damaging.
some games are very damaging.
Well, and again, it goes to knowing what you're getting into. If you want to play a loose, more abstracted game, you're not going to go for GURPS.
All
or,
those stairs are going to
D&D.
be 3-inch pile.
Right, yeah.
You're not
And-
going to be at hurt.
And to me, that's one of the reasons. My priority in RPGs is character development.
Yeah.
So for me, it has become much more interesting to play Powered by the Apocalypse games where you don't even have static or damage. It's a lot of them are just conditions, and this is how you feel about it. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Were they spiral staircases?
Yeah.
In which case you can grab onto the railing.
Right. Yeah.
Is it
And
covered in
the
shade?
correct answer is, what do you want the stairs
What do you
to
want
be?
the stairs to be?
Are they the stairs that remind you of the stairs in your mother's house?
Yeah. And then somebody else is like, can I say that I just painted the stairs so that they're prettier? Absolutely, I love that. But that's what I want. Is I want those character moments of going, wow, we love each other.
Suddenly it becomes about interior decorating.
Yeah,
not really about
exactly.
falling
Yeah,
downstairs.
yeah.
That's way
Can
better.
we have sex on these stairs, and will it trigger my sex move? Yes,
Yeah.
and yes. But if I'm going into if I'm going to play a D&D game, and I love playing D&D, I'm not worried about it's dynamic damage. That's what I get. Okay.
Well, that's because you're not going to die.
Right? Yeah.
At D&D,
Most likely,
you're
no.
not.
It's hard to kill.
Yeah.
It's hard to kill characters in 5th edition.
It is. In
There's
fifth edi- yeah.
the death rolls, and
I
you
think
got
it's
to.
the appropriate difficulty. In
Even
5th
the cleric
edition.
being pulled off the
Yeah.
boat still would have had 6 or 7 rounds of holding
Yeah.
his breath and being able to fight.
Right,
He
yeah.
would have been fine.
Well, I recently was playing a little bit in a D&D 5e game, and it was the Tomb of Annihilation. And we were playing it with what's called the meat grinder rules, whereas normally when you're rolling your death saves, you get 3 of them, and you have to get a 10 and above to
Yeah.
So you got
That's
50-50 shot to either recover or get worse, and you got 3 chances on that.
And you have to get 3 successes before you get 3 failures.
Yes,
or something
exactly,
Like that.
yeah.
That's the
So-
default. That's the default death rules for
Yeah,
5th edition.
so plenty of time. We were playing in what's called the meat grinder rules, whereas it's a DC 15 save, instead of DC 10.
Okay.
So it's much more likely you're going to die. Right. And, and my character, and we all knew we were going to do this. And we're like, okay, so this is the chance to make all these characters that you don't really have an emotional attachment to. You're just like, this sounds like a fun concept. Let me just play this for a little while.
Try not to get to the... oh shit!
Right,
I'm at table. I'm done.
Yeah, right.
I have to go home.
Yeah, and so and the DM was like, everybody should have at least one character on deck, and so that if you die, you got another one to step right in there, and we'll figure out ways to do that. And and I was okay with that. And my character was the first to die in the campaign. But it was like, it's fun. It's a different way of gaming than what I'm used to.
I think if you go into it knowing that's what you're doing, you've prepped and...
That's a different experience.
Yeah.
You wanted to do that.
Yeah. If you go into a D&D game with your 10-page backstory and your 14 character illustrations, and you get killed in the first 10 minutes of the game from,
you went out and bought a mini,
right?
And then you painted it with a one hair brush,
and then the bard plays a song that sends your cleric to a grave,
right? Yeah. And then you're like, if you didn't know that's what you were getting into, well, you're justifiably upset.
Yeah,
sure.
It's like, you don't even get a chance to hit.
Right? Yeah.
All right.
Ghostbusters
tomorrow,
LA
so we're going to do
Reprise.
this quickly.
Thanks. Okay.
So Ghostbusters LA Reprise. So in case you guys didn't know, I'll keep it quick. Stu, I think, was the very first game that we recorded.
It was the first
And-
official
Savage Worlds or
AP.
GURPS? It was
It was in Savage Worlds.
It was Savage Worlds, and Stu ran this wonderful Ghostbusters game that took place in LA. And
Ghostbusters had franchised.
It was a revolution to me. Revolution?
Revelation.
A revolution to me because he pulled in all these local land sites, including Disneyland, and found maps of the areas.
Awesome.
And so at some point we were like, wait, this is a map from the 30s of LA. And so people called up on their phones and looked, and he planned for this, that we were able to use this stuff. It's old hat now, but back then, this is the first time I'd taken a really long break with gaming and came back into this. I'm like, so all of this stuff. Oh my God! We Crawford. This actually takes place like here.
Yeah, modern day setting.
Wow! Because back in the day when we were doing it, you had to go to the library and get a Xerox and get a map, and you're like, it's Portland from the 30s. Let's just keep going.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm going to read the email. Hello, fellow gamers and geeks. I was talking to a friend recently about the original Ghostbusters LAAP, similarities with Stork's character and one from the past that I ran. It was one of the first APs I found on Happy Jacks back in the day. It was the first AP we did.
Yes, it was.
And enjoyed it. I decided to download it again and listen on my way to work. I was amazed at how much different the experience was, for one main reason. Over the past few years, I've gotten to know everyone at Happy Jacks. I now recognize voices, can see where the characterization was coming from, etc. And to hear Stu's kids in the background, boy, they were younger back then.
I'll have to listen to that, because that's got to be 6 or 7 years ago now.
Oh, they were babies.
Yeah. Allie was probably 6.
Oh.
Zachary was probably 4.
Come on.
Wow.
With the addition of video streams, I can now picture the people at the table having a blast with the game. It makes the entire experience very cool. Just wanted to let you know, your 5-year-old APs still have some life in them. He said 5.
Right.
Steve from Atlanta. P.S. The similarity I was talking about involved a Dresden Files game with a character that did not believe in magic. Wonderful role-playing, trying to explain everything away.
Yeah.
My character was a grumpy old man who didn't believe in magic. So, and oddly enough, everything that happened, because it was Ghostbusters, actual ghosts were doing stuff. Oddly enough, he was looking the other way. Stuff happened on the ride at Disneyland, so he was like, "Oh, they drank the water," they were hallucinating. Everything was explained away until the very last moment, and it just sort of worked out that way. But it was a revelation because Stu did such a wonderful game. He handed out props. He had all these maps, had all this stuff, and we're all sitting there going, "Wow, man, you really cared."
I had more time back then.
Yeah.
That's the DMing I always wish I did, but never actually get around to doing it. Like, I'm going to make maps, and I'm going to have, doctored photos, and I'm going to hand them out notes with, burned edges.
Yeah,
and,
that was what it was.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, you get a note with a burned edge.
Use your Imaginarium.
Yeah. Because I worked 16 hours yesterday. Fuck it. Yeah, you're fine.
You're lucky we're playing here.
So I had all the notes. I was going to burn them, and then I fell asleep, and they all burned.
Yeah.
Right.
I just had a similar experience on Monday. Kadave running Insert Coin.
Yeah.
Just did this scene for me where he had kind of prepped me a little bit and slacked to be like, hey, can we do this thing? And there's this really scary thing happening with my character, but my character had to write it off. I was like, that was a dream. Because I really need that to be a dream. and everybody at the table heard this thing happening, and everyone's like, oh my God. And I'm like, definitely a dream.
Yeah.
Moving on,
Right.
because that was just a dream. But it was really effective for me. I didn't know exactly what he was going to do.
Yeah.
And I was frightened.
Did he have visuals and things for you?
No, he just told the story, and I was like, oh, okay, okay.
Oh, God.
I wake up now.
Dan's a great GM. I co-GM
Yeah.
with him all the time, and it's wonderful when he starts to go.
Yeah.
He's full of infinite mirth and also just a great storyteller.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
I'm
next
really,
on my list of listens. Actually, as I want to get the Insert Coin.
Yeah, I'm real excited to see where it goes. We're having a blast.
Excellent.
One of the best things that you can ever do is to get Dave laughing. He has one of the most infectious
Yes,
laughs ever.
yes, he does.
And then you will just start laughing
Yeah.
just thinking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, we'll lose 5 minutes of podcast
Yeah,
just for that.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. We had him. He guested on Interpol X one day, and it was just so much fun. Such a great addition. Fun spot.
He was a fan.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
And now look where he is.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Crazy.
You call it?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna play a preview from our new CD because I just finished mastering it tonight.
Oh, awesome.
Which one?
With song, safe word.
Should we do plugs before that, or
Go ahead. Go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to.
What plugs?
Oh,
There's no
so
plugs.
so this is Adam. I hope everyone will tune in Monday night at. I think we're going to start at 7 and have a special 3-hour episode. It is the finale of Interpol X. So if you've been with us all season, you're going to love the exciting conclusion of this game. And as much as I love it, I'm ready for the break, but I'm so excited to see what happens with these characters in the story because it's been such a blast to run.
Big
So-
surge on the forums. A lot of love for it recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
a lot of
Good.
love for it
Yeah.
recently.
I love seeing the responses that we've been getting. And I loved in the state of the podcast posts, several people were like, I love Interpol X.
Yes.
And it makes me really happy that you guys are enjoying it because I'm having a blast. And now you get to know what my regular gaming life
No,
is
you're
like.
telling a kick-ass story.
Yeah,
it's,
thanks.
it's awesome.
Did they go back to Iceland?
Huh? No, we're not going back to Iceland. But yeah, so that's Monday night at 7, and please pay attention to the special time. It is starting at 7. But tomorrow, right? Is that tomorrow?
Today is Friday.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
on Sunday.
On Sunday, I'm playing in another game. And what is that game, Jason?
That game is Demigods, and
Yes.
it's a PBTA game of my own creation.
You're actually running a campaign now.
Yes. Yeah, we're running, I think, 7 or 8 Sundays. It's 4 to 8 p.m. every Sunday through fair, except for May 13th, so we can all go to RuPaul's Drag Race. But we're running all the Sundays through fair. This is the second year I've gotten to run a game during fair. Call it the fair game. And I'm having a blast. But anyway, this is a game system I've been working on for almost a year, and it's coming along. I'm going to be shopping around looking for publishers soon, but this is the first time that I actually get to do something really long and solid as a campaign and not just a bunch of one-shots. So
The Netflix format, not
yes,
just an
Yeah.
Xbox
yes.
episode. Yes.
We finally get to binge
As opposed to a
Demigods.
pilot.
Right, yeah.
So this Sunday, April 8th, we will be doing character generation and jumping right into the story. And I
On the same day?
Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
The
Yeah, that's
character
cool.
generation will take 2 hours, and then we'll have 2 hours to actually tell some stories.
Very cool.
Excellent.
Oh, God, if only I could follow you on Twitter to find out more about Demigods.
My Twitter handle is it's probably okay.
No apostrophe.
No apostrophe because you can't have one in a Twitter handle. And all the news and stuff that I post on there is that. Also, I use hashtag Demigods PBTA if you want to just follow that. That's all the news about Demigods. So it's coming soon. Oh, also we'll be posting new art. The art for the game, like the class picture characters, are looking really great.
So good.
So
Yeah.
we've got a new one coming up probably this weekend.
Excellent.
Artist is almost done. We'll move on to the next one. Very exciting time. Thank you for joining me on this. We'll see you on Sunday, hopefully. And that's all
I'm
I'm going
not
to say
doing
about
anything
that.
this
Oh, okay.
We have fair.
Yeah, we got nothing.
We already mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
and just
Go.
real quick, let me mention. So Interpol X ends on Monday, and then 2 weeks after that, we start Monster Hearts.
Oh, it's gonna be so fun.
It's
Did you get Tappy?
Yeah,
Or no?
yeah.
Okay.
It's so Samantha and I are co-running it. She's going to start running, and then
Samantha or Mac?
Mac.
Okay,
Mac.
yeah.
Yes, sorry,
I was going to say
Mac.
Red Pandroid?
Yeah, Mac.
Classic.
She's a costumer too. She has no time.
I
either.
know, right? Yeah.
Two customers run a game.
Yeah,
So
right.
they never have a session.
Right.
But they look great.
But they
They
look
look,
great.
yeah, extensive descriptions of the characters' costumes, but
For
nothing
the one
actually
session,
happens.
they were all able to make it together.
Right. Yeah. Whew, it's too real, guys. But no, Mac and I are co-running it. She's going to start it out, and but we're both going to sort of run character creation because she's never GM'd Monster Hearts before, and I have, but we're letting her take the lead, and I'll just kind of be advising during character creation. And
Backseat GM.
yeah, backseat GM, and
She and I
are both going to make characters, PCs, and then when I take over GMing for a couple of sessions, her PC.
So you're gonna
will
round
come
robin
in.
kind of.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, which is something that Jason and I have done several times.
Yeah,
with PBTA
games
before.
really suit that well. It's
Yeah.
super easy to
Right.
kind of slot in and
Yeah.
make the character an NPC for a little while, and then
Yeah,
Prep light game.
So, yeah.
There's no big secrets that you have to share with the.
Exactly.
Yeah, not right
yeah.
off the bat, usually.
Right. Yeah. So it's me and Mac, and then Tappy is going to be one of our PCs, and Joey. And
How is? Oh, it's on Monday. Never mind. Okay. I'm like,
Yes.
wait, Joey's at Fair.
Oh yeah,
He's my band.
Monday.
Take a moment. You
He's
might
my
have had
turf.
words with the man.
Monday evening. So
I don't think I've ever met
so
Joey.
Tappy, Joey, and Gina. So really excited about finally playing one of my absolute all-time favorite games on the air. It should be a lot of fun.
Excellent.
So, now I think that's April 23rd is when that starts. But 2 weeks from this coming Monday after Interpol X ends.
Very complicated.
All right.
Or look at the schedule when it goes on Happy
Yeah.
Jacks.
Oh, that's
Just
smart
Give me
idea.
updates out all the time.
yeah.
I don't know if it's updated yet.
Okay.
Because she does that, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for season 21, episode 14 of Happy Jacks RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Adam.
Jason.
Stork.
And we'll leave you with a song right now.
Brand new.
If this works.
There we go.
Hot drop.
It didn't work.
But if
Put the needle on the
just
record.
pretend that it had worked and that you're
Yeah.
enjoying this awesome song.
Yeah.
Wait a second. What is going on? No. Hold on.
Do all the things.
Please tell me we recorded that entire episode.
Oh
We
no!
did,
Yeah,
right?
no! This is the thing. I'm like, wait. Why isn't it not? Okay, no, it's right here. It's right there. Play.
Yeah.
What? That doesn't make any sense. No.
This is fascinating listening for those of you recording.
Give me a second. No,
Yeah.
it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
this is
Oh, wait, here we go.
quality
Here we go.
entertainment.
Bam.
I met a pretty woman down at the local pub. She was tall and she was fair and she was curvy everywhere. I asked if she would join me for an ale and some grub. And as the night passed from day, I thought things might go my way.
And when the pub had closed, I got an invite to her home, though she called it her lair, and I was unaware that hanging from her belt were manacles of chrome. And I suppose I shouldn't skip that she also wore a whip.
Oh, why does she insist I call her mistress? And why on my wrist to the bedpost now secure? I know that there's an utterance to make my pain desist, but I can't recall my secret.
She led me to the bed, but it looked more like a rack, and I leaned in for a kiss, and she bit me on the lip. And when I tried resisting, I got a mighty whack. She did a little dance, and then cut off my pants.
Oh, why does she insist I call her mistress? And why on my wrist think that thing will fit back there. I was wrong, I realized. I didn't think that thing would fit back there. Don't you have a smaller size?
In the morning when I woke, my fetters they were gone. I was no longer alarmed, she was nestled in me arms. After breakfast and a quickie, I sang a different song. 'Cause though I'm tired and sore, I'll go back for some more.
Oh why does she insist I call her mistress? And why are my wrists to the bedpost now secure? I know that there's another wrist to make my pain desist, but I can't recall my safe word. No, I can't recall my safe word. What the hell, who needs a safe word?
The preceding program has been a presentation of the Angry Folk Media Empire.